Welcome to episode 53 of the Triple Takeover Toycast, your fortnightly podcast about Transformers toys and many other vintage and modern toy lines. I am joined by my co-hosts Liam from Toybox Soapbox.
What ho?
And Sixo from Sixo.
What hey?
And I am M.A.S.K from TFsquareone. Episode 53, we are going to talk about the retro Transformers the Movie G1 reissues from Hasbro. Supposed to be Walmart exclusives, but they're available online.
Right.
And this is a very relevant subject at the moment because it should be this week that the retro Hound and Thundercracker start getting shipped out from Hasbro Pulse. I think all of us now have retro Pink Hot Rod and Starscream in hand, right, guys?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've never mentioned Pink Hot Rod, have we? So it's hard to...
Well, this is the topic for it.
Yeah, right. Indeed.
And of course, with the recent leak, we know that there's going to be a Perceptor and Insecticons too, right?
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly, yes, right. Not 100% confirmed, I don't think, but man, it would be good, wouldn't it?
I believe legally we have to say allegedly.
Right, okay. Well, this is our opportunity to talk a little bit about the Hound and the Thundercracker that are imminent, and then we're going to discuss what we think is likely to see and make a sort of a case for one toy each that we think will show up in this line, and then also one that is not constrained by the boundaries of reality or budgets or molds being lost, just one we'd absolutely love to see in this line. Before we get into the meat of it, a few things that we'd like to mention. First of all, our Patreon at patreon.com/triple takeover. Everything from early access to Discord access to commissioning extra minisodes, which are exclusive to this Sixo's Butler tier and Goldbox Classics. And we have 3 concurrent miniseries now, and they are into multiple chapters, whether it's Batman, Turtles, Unicron Trilogy, or IDW's More Than Meets the Eye. Tatman. So that's weekly exclusive content. So check it out, patreon.com/triple takeover for basically double the content.
It is. And can I just say, it was an absolute pleasure to meet so many of our patrons in Manchester this week, wasn't it, Sixo?
It really was, man. Honestly, it was fantastic. It was just a delight. We had so many people coming up to us like, oh, I'm on the Discord and it's brilliant and, you know, how great it was and just absolutely fantastic, honestly. And we got tons of people that were super enthusiastic about the panel as well. Thanks for that. So just, yeah, brilliant to meet you.
Yeah, fantastic weekend. And there were so many of them talked about how good the Discord was. And they also couldn't believe that Maz actually does the, how he reads out the patron names, how he does it all in one go. That came up several times, Maz. People asked,
it did, yeah.
Does he really do that?
Well, anyone who was at TFN last year will have had it live.
Yeah, but some of these people wanted to know this.
There were quite a few newbies at the old Minicon, actually.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people. I thought TF Nation, the team there did an exceptional job with it, but also, you know, aside from the organisation of the event itself, which was really fantastic, the fact that they managed to draw in a good few people, I think, that had never, ever been to any kind of convention or Transformers event before. And that was really palpable, actually, I think. So there were quite a few new faces, people kind of, you know, coming over for the first time and things like that. So it was great.
Yeah, it was absolutely a fantastic event. And I'm really glad that we got to be a part of it as what do we call ourselves? Was it Double Trouble? Double
do-over, yeah.
Double do-over, yeah. We were struggling without you, Maz, to actually think of a name for ourselves.
All right, well, we also have a sponsor, don't we?
We do, yes, indeed. That's tfsource.com. You can check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs. We'll do a little sponsor segment in the middle of the pod, as ever, in just a little bit.
Yeah, and, as we're heading toward, holiday time, you can head over to our Rebel and buy yourself some nice holiday clothes. You've got T-shirts, aprons. I don't know why you need them on your holidays, but maybe you do. Coasters, all sorts of cool stuff. And you can find it at rebel.com/people/triple takeover/explore.
What are you going to do if that post-it falls down, Liam?
Definitely look it up.
I don't know.
He's definitely looking up.
The worst part would be, say, if the biro had been up there for so long that the actual biro ink was fading.
Brilliant.
Oh. All right, so onto the topic of these retro reissues. I've actually struggled to find the official name of this line. Is it Retro Transformers? Is it Retro Transformers the movie? Is it just Transformers the movie Retro? Like, what is the official name of this line?
Does it say on the box anywhere? Because
it says Transformers the movie.
That's what I mean. That's the only branding I can really see on it. There doesn't seem to be an imprint or line name.
No, it's weird, isn't it? It does. It's just the Transformers the movie logo on the kind of flap at the top and on the back. but I don't think it actually has the word retro anywhere on the packaging, interestingly.
I think that's just come from the retail codes, hasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
There wasn't a Transformers the movie line, in 1986. There hasn't been one, so they can still have just that name if they wanted to.
Yeah,
It's true.
but no one's using that.
No, they don't have to give it like retro reissues. They could just, because technically they're being reissued in different colours, so they're new.
So what we're saying is that these are the official first ever Transformers the movie toys, just released 37 years too late.
I like that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly what it is.
Pretty sold on that idea. But then I guess that means for our premise for this episode, we are very much constrained by toys which appeared in the movie. However brief.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the parameter. That's the fence that they're going to be in.
Well, yeah, because when they get to the older ACOM animation inaccuracies reissue line, that's what they're going to have to call it, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. We'll look forward to that another time. But I think there is that constraint on it, because clearly, I think when you start getting reissues like Hound, and people are like, was he even in the movie? And it's like, yeah, he was in 2 brief screenshots, both of which actually bizarrely contradict each other, but never mind, that's a whole other thing. I think that's when you know that we're kind of doing our best to find characters that they also have molds for that are usable in whatever way with modern technology. That they're really trying their best, aren't they, to try and find those characters. So I think that's where the interest of all of this lies, is that it's not just which characters were in the film, it's which characters were in the film that have workable molds that can be feasibly done, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find it really odd though when people say that about Hound and they're like, oh, I can't believe he's got a toy. Considering as collectors, like how many obscure characters are we like for every toy line, like Star Wars or even Transformers? Like it was like this person appeared in like as an animation era and people want a toy of them in everything.
100%.
Like,
well, we're in the arena now, aren't we, of having a buzzworthy jazz that is done after one scene in one precious moment of the pilot episode of the cartoon, and people are just like lapping that stuff up, honestly, me included. I think it's brilliant, but we've really kind of gone into the area of the niche in the last couple of years, haven't we? So I think Hound realistically is not that bizarre. Actually, it's more an indication to me that a character like that coming so early into this line to be the third mold that's used kind of makes me think that actually maybe there are not going to be too many of these, and that there are not going to be that many characters that are available to be done. But still, it's fun to speculate.
I wondered about that, but I've also thought maybe it's a case of they are aware of how many times they've reissued so many of these toys, but that Hound hasn't been done. But they have the access to the mold from Takara, from was it the book box
exactly that
collection. So I wondered if they thought we'll get this in now, and it's like a wow, it gets a lot of interest and excitement, and it will hopefully sell more than a Perceptor that's been there 17 times before and shelf warmed. All these characters, it's a way to keep that interest. It's like even just generate interest in it.
Yep, that was exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
I think as well, it's a good point, and it sort of proves actually that all of this is speculation, isn't it? We have no insider knowledge. There's no definitive way to tell, and there are a lot of assumptions made about some characters. Like Sunstreaker would be another one that for years people are like, oh, the mold is broken, or it's been lost, or it's this or that. Nobody really knows, do they? And for all we know, there could be a retro reissue Sunstreaker right around the corner, and wouldn't that be a terrific thing to see? I don't think so, but you never know.
Speaking of retro, we brought this up in the episode 51. Actually, that's the perfect name for these, isn't it? Because there's no point calling them vintage reissues, because they are not authentic to the era that they're coming out in. So they are very much retro Transformers releases. It's the perfect name for it, really. And I think the reason why people found Hound unusual is because when you associate Hound, you don't associate him with the movie. You associate him with 1984, where he was like that pilot's Bumblebee before Bumblebee took that role of being the main human contact character. But I think if you had a Transformers the movie poster, however you swing it, it's barely ever going to be a Hound on it. But based on the rules of who appeared in the movie, Hound absolutely fits. And I really agree with Liam about the fact that they need to show some variety going forward. If we had just gotten Starscream, Hot Rod, Soundwave, Blaster, they're literally just redoing the Walmart line in a new box with some new paint. So something new was absolutely essential.
Astro Train.
Steady on.
Getting that one in there early.
So many of those hit clearance though as well, didn't they? So it's good for him to try and avoid that. But also, Hound, just back to him, he appears in one of the most iconic shots from the movie, doesn't he?
Yeah,
in the
shot is true.
Shot. He's there. No, he's multiple shots. He's there more than Snarl. and he's getting a Studio Series toy.
Ooh, is he though? I don't know. He's in the background with Cub.
Yeah, he's carrying a little sign.
Yeah. And then he's in the background with Optimus, isn't he? Having seemingly arrived on the shuttle, even though that makes no sense. Him and Sunstreaker.
Maybe he was there to help them dock. When they landed, opening the door, get the keys in.
Yeah. Sunstreaker's also in both places, so it's a weird one all around. I don't worry about it. It's not something I lose sleep over. But
Wheeljack and Windcharger in iconic scenes. I mean, are we going to see that?
Yeah,
please.
Exactly.
Would you turn down a Wheeljack, even if it was dead Wheeljack?
No, I wouldn't. Of course not.
That's the thing. I wouldn't turn down any of these. There are none of these that you could say to me, would you want this G1 toy in this color scheme? I'm not going to say no to it, frankly.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've learned from the last 20 years of collecting is to never skip a G1 reissue. It doesn't matter what the packaging is, what the theme is, what version of it is coming out. There's going to be some reason somewhere down the line where I'm going to want one of them in a particular color or style, and it's going to be hard to get because it's long out of print, and whoever wanted to buy it has it now, and the price is just skyward. I mean, it was not that long ago where trying to find that eHobby Skids and Screech was just super simple and nobody wanted them. Now the price is double what it was 5 years ago, and it's actually a pretty tricky set to get. So if I ever wanted those reed colored skids, it's very hard to get now. So I don't skip. I bought all the Walmart ones. Even though I had Astro Train, I had a vintage Blaster, I have a vintage Soundwave, I had a reissue Soundwave, but I still bought this Soundwave, Devastator, all of them. I just knew that I would come to regret it if I didn't.
Did you get J Balvintron?
I didn't, as it goes.
That's one that I think, it tested the limits a bit with a lot of people, I think, that one.
Along with the Linkin Park one.
Right, that's true, actually.
That's one I'd want, but I guess that's just that whole thing of enough time has passed for it to be interesting to me. Like Koro Q Transformers, like at the time, didn't care. 10 years ago, didn't care. Today, ooh, snap them up immediately, that sort of thing. It's just how time changes your collecting. So looking at the format of the episode that we're doing today, I think we each have toys that we'd love to see in this retro reissue line. And to keep it from being total fantasy and saying things like Grandus, Galaxy Shuttle, stuff like that, we're going to try to keep it to toys that appeared in Transformers the movie, G1 toys that have been reissued recently. And because of Hound, we're even going to include things from the TF collection era of reissues and commemorative series, stuff that maybe we haven't seen for 20 years. Mad to think of it as 20 years old, but that's the case. Also, something that would benefit from on-screen coloring. Now, I know that Starscream may not have been people's choice for this, but having got this dude in hand last week, finally, I had to wait ages for mine. And I was one of the people who were battling against this opinion on release. I put my TF collection anime Starscream next to it. It doesn't have the shine it used to, I have to tell you. Okay, this has got the awful missiles and the awful launches, and I know people have had QC issues with it, but just that painted face and the grey nose cone make a world of difference, and it's absolutely made this an essential thing to own for me. And that's why I'm so excited for Thundercracker, like out of this world excited for Thundercracker.
Can I just slide in a quick controversial opinion, which is that I know we all love Pink Hot Rod, but of the two, I've actually found myself way more taken with the Starscream.
Get out.
You said that at the end of year episode, I think, and it didn't make any sense to me then. Now I have this in hand, I can see why you say that. I mean, I feel that you're less wrong than you were there, but you're still wrong. However, this is a wonderful toy.
I suppose it's more of a surprise, though, wasn't it? Because like when I got back from my holiday, I had so much stuff, and I thought that would be the least interesting thing. There was like Star Saber, HasLab stuff, all that, and then that turned out to be the thing I was most excited once I opened it. Was just like blown away, and I go back to it constantly because it just looks so pretty, and I just think it caught me by surprise because I feel like I've experienced that toy so many times over the years in what I first thought was only slightly different color schemes to what this is. And actually, when you see it here, you're like, the way they come together in person is just something that just absolutely blows you away each time. Like the yellow cockpit chest makes such a difference. And I know it was on the other one, but it's also the other elements, the colors, the shade of gray they've used as well.
Yeah, it's the face for me. It's the painted face that makes just the
astonishing,
the biggest. Yeah, 100%. It's, I've always I mean, how many Seeker toys, G1 Seeker toys, do we all own? This mold is one that is inescapable if you're a G1 collector, and so you see that face multiple times over. Cone heads, everything, Sunstorm, even, and yet this is the first time that I can legitimately say that I was surprised by how great that face looked, and to do away with the horrible eye stickers, that I've never really bothered with. And to have actual painted details, it just, there's no retooling there. It just breathes a whole lot of new life into it with a little fresh coat of paint. And I must admit, I was the same as you lads. I was really not excited for it, but definitely Hot Rod was taking the share of the excitement there because, I already had the Transformers collection reissue, like you said, Maz. And I just figured, okay, it's not going to be so stunningly different. But even the grey is different. The blue is different. It's all got tweaks to it. So yeah, super interesting to see.
Yeah,
the grey's an odd one because I always find it's a thing that they struggle with. He's always a slightly different color, and I've always thought it was just me. Like for a while, it felt like they were constantly just making him white instead of grey. And when you see him in the cartoon, you're like, he's not that color. Then you see his original toy, he's like, that's different to the cartoon too, but in a good way. And it's just so nice to see it there, and you're like, there it is. That's the one.
Do you think they've hit it then with this grey? Because you've got a thing about the grey, definitely.
I do, I think this has nailed it because I never looked at it and went, it looks weird or off. It's just like, that's fine. It's perfect. It's great.
That's so interesting. I will say that actually my first impression of this toy was slightly marred by certainly one aspect, which I'll quickly touch on. But the grey, I was like, it's nice, but it almost looks slightly discoloured. Like it's a weird thing to say.
Yep.
It could be yellowed. It looks like the Transformers collection reissue after it's been in the sun slightly.
100%.
And not in a bad way, but just it's a weird tone. And I found that actually taking pictures of it, that was really noticeable as well, because it almost looks yellowed on camera. It's hard to explain, honestly. It's not bad at all. People are going to hear that and think, ugh, that doesn't sound appealing. But it's a dirtier grey than what we've had previously.
Wow, I can't see that at all on mine. But maybe that's through having my laser eyes sort of, it's giving me a Starscream filter.
I'll tell you what this toy has done for me also. It's made the extremes of the colours of this mould more interesting to me. And it's almost removed all of my interest in the in-betweens. Like, I found myself much less impressed by the TF collection one. And yet I need to look all the way back to the G1 vintage or the Diaclone for a completely different look where that totally unpainted face makes sense now, because the context of it is like a blue nose cone, old style missiles, Diaclone driver, just a very, very different toy to what this is in terms of its function and the features. This is completely different. It's totally screen accurate. There's no stickers. It's like they've stopped doing it in a half-assed way. They've done it the whole hog now. They've just gone full metal cartoon on it. And while I absolutely hate the bombs, those bombs are so awful, and they don't even sit straight in the launcher. The long missiles, actually, I'm over it. I'm genuinely over it. I'm looking at the robot mode. I'm not being an apologist for this, but I actually think they're absolutely fine. I tried putting the TF collection missiles in there, and they don't fit in the launcher, because the tabs are way thinner, so it just falls out of the launcher.
Yeah.
So I had to put the actual launcher from the TF collection one on to get the fully vintage style look. It is really nice, but then you lose the colouring of this launcher, so it's a total compromise.
I think the grey and the blue are just too different. Like, even just looking at them side by side, the blue is actually slightly more baby blue on the Transformers collection, whereas it's a slightly sort of more off-color blue on the. You wouldn't say that unless you compare the two of them. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't look at the retro one and go, "Oh, it's a slightly off blue or whatever," but it's definitely lighter and it's got almost like a slight tinge to it. But the grey as well is just a bit too much of a mismatch for me for that to work.
Yeah.
Can I put out a quick appeal to anyone listening who makes like the repro missiles or anything? Please do them in this color. I would just really like to have the proper style null rays, because you can buy them on eBay, like reproduction ones, but they match to the vintage toy. It'd be nice to get some that much of this, because
you'd need the mold to be different, Liam. The mold has to be different because the tabs of the vintage and reissue ones before this don't fit in this launcher. You'd need someone to almost do the whole launcher, or
right.
just do something, people. Also, we'd be
sort it
remiss
out.
not to
Fix
mention
this,
that
fix
a lot
this.
of people have had QC issues with this toy.
Hmm.
Bad paint
Well,
on the
so-
face.
Yeah. This is what I was going to say that actually did mar my experience. So my thing was that the cockpit, the canopy, you know, the orange bit, was basically falling out. And actually has fallen out on my copy quite a few times. So I initially noticed it when I got it out and sort of opened the canopy, and it was like, oh, this is super loose, to the point where actually if you hold it up whilst he's in robot mode, it just flops straight down again. It won't actually hold up at all. Same in plane mode, actually. Like, you couldn't just hold it up. It would just flop back into place. And it's almost like the two halves of the whole canopy section are just not even misaligned, but it's like the bit where there's the sort of orange plastic is supposed to be held in place. It's like it's slightly worn away, and there's just no way to fix it. Honestly, it's super annoying, and actually doesn't look particularly great either. And there's a photo of that, you know, exact copy that I can see, and it's quite obvious in hand, I think, like even in the picture. Super disappointing. It did put me off a bit, to the point where I actually got a second copy of this thing, because I was like, after you two had been raving about it so much, I was like, okay, it's definitely just that I've got a bit of a lemon, and the second copy is perfect. So
That's
hey
what
ho.
you want.
Yeah.
I remember you asking when I got mine if I had the same trouble, and I was like, no, mine's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it really reassured me to pick up a second one, thinking, okay, it should be better then. Like, you know, surely won't have the same problem twice if it's an anomaly, and it just seems to have been.
Well, fingers crossed for Thundercracker then, that the faces are painted properly and that it's just built better on the whole for most of the copies, because that's what I've been looking forward to for a long time. And I just had a feeling we were going to get that in this line once Starscream came out this way. I know they wanted to release Thundercracker for the Walmart reissues, but it didn't win the poll, so it didn't come out. Blaster and
was there a
Perceptor,
poll?
I think. Yeah, Astro Train beat Skywarp or Thundercracker, and Blaster beat the other Seeker. So those
Right.
two were poll releases, and that's why we didn't get them. So naturally,
I do remember
we're getting them here, and Thundercracker just looks great. But let's also talk about Hound. I just got a TFC collection Hound in about just under a month ago, and that's an amazing G1 toy. Like, very, very unique, even among G1 toys and G1 cars. But a lot of that is down to sparkly green plastic in places and loads and loads of chrome. So how do we feel about this one having no chrome?
This is very different. The chrome is kind of more of a general thing, isn't it? There is actually one thing specifically about Hound that I will mention that I think is more of a departure. But as for the lack of chrome, we talked about it. I was going to say it's worth mentioning that we did a whole mini-sode on Pink Hot Rod, by the way. So if you really do want to get into the nuts and bolts of how enamored we were with that thing, there's a whole mini-sode on our Patreon, which you can hear on that one. And that was mini-sode number
33.
Remember? I thought it was.
32.
There you go.
Yeah,
33. We kind of, I think all of us felt like we kind of got over the chrome on Hot Rod, and I kind of feel like it'll be the same with Hound in a way.
The chrome doesn't really bother me on Hound, except for on the wheels. Like, I would have liked it on the wheels, and on the missile and the gun. But like that, I suppose actually, then maybe I would have liked the chrome.
Yeah, the thing is that Hound isn't trying to recreate a prototype. That's different. Pink Hot Rod for us was a prototype, and that needed to look a very specific way because it was possible based on we can have a stock one, but we can also have a proto one. I don't think Hound has that same legacy, really.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. And funnily enough, it was the wheels I was going to mention, because I agree they do look a little bit unsightly, the kind of way that they're pinned on at the side. And then, of course, you've not got rubber tires in this case, which seems a bit strange.
Oh yeah, I do keep forgetting that, actually.
Yeah, they seem well. They look plastic to me. I got to tell you.
Did we not have this with Hot Rod though, where people thought they were plastic, and then it turned out they weren't? They were just rubber.
Yeah, very much so, and that's what makes me wonder, because it was exactly the same situation. They did turn out to be rubber, but I don't know. It's hard to look at those stock pictures of Hound and think that those are rubber tires. Maybe they are, and it is that kind of hard rubber again. But I don't know. Does it look it?
I'll be interested, because there were a lot of people similarly who thought there was no diecast in this because of the way it looked from the off. They were like, "Oh no, they've got rid of the diecast," but it's like it's obviously still there at the back. It's just painted a different green, isn't it?
I don't think is that even possible for them to do? Because I think, isn't it a different mold for the die-cast parts than it is for the plastic parts? It would have to be.
it's got
Yeah.
to be.
So
Yeah.
they would have to have made a whole other mold as a plastic mold for that to be the case. Otherwise, it would have to be die-cast.
Yeah, I think it's just with this toy. I think looks can be deceiving, maybe, because that's what's happened so far. So I'm hoping that's the case with the tires. But I didn't actually look at them close enough to realize. But maybe they are plastic. Maybe because they have been doing it, switching out stuff gradually. But not. I don't think they've done it on the reissues. Have they anywhere?
Yeah, it would be a weird one. And actually, they would have had to have created a plastic mold for the tires in that case, I guess.
Yeah, because we had obviously running changes back in the day with like Rodimus Prime and Ultra Magnus and whatever. But it would be really odd for them to change it here. But perhaps they have.
I think it's fair to say that the photography of these toys, the stock photography, is super confusing because we had it with Retro Hot Rod even, where we were like, there's a picture on the back of the box and then a stock picture that was released, and they both looked quite different, didn't they? Just in terms of it was almost like someone had like put some sort of weird filter on the back of the box pictures to kind of make them look different. Maybe a metallic filter, who can say? And I don't know.
That's retro now. You're bringing it back.
Right. That is retro. Yeah, it's from so long ago.
It's the same with Starscream, wasn't it, though, with the missiles?
It was.
I think Thundercracker has gone the same again, where he's got the short missiles.
Yeah, and there's no doubt to me that there's a box picture of Hound, and then there's the white background, sort of PNGs that are doing the rounds, the studio photography pictures, and in those, the toy looks quite washed out, like the green looks a little washed out and everything. So I'm kind of feeling like that's not going to be super representative of maybe what we'll see.
It looks like there are a few different greens on that toy, doesn't there?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now and really does.
It'll be between the paint and the plastic, won't it, as well? It looks quite stark. But again, I assume that's the shots where it looks like there were quite bright lights on it, which maybe show it up more.
This might be great for Hound, One of the biggest problems with Hound is chromeware and stickerware, because the stickers are so tricky on that toy. This has none of those problems. It's just going to be the Hound which you can play with as much as you want, and maybe it will look like on-screen Hound, and it will have its own appeal. I love the fact that it's got blue eyes. That's a new one for Hound, and I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, one of the things I really like is the change with the feet, and the feet and the shins, because they're all green. And I quite like the way that changes his silhouette a little, whereas on the original toy, they're black shins, aren't they, with the feet big, massive green moon boots almost. Whereas here it's all one colour. And I really like the way it switches its proportions almost.
Not noticed that.
I had not noticed that, but that's such a good observation.
Like from the first photos, you can see it and you're like, oh, it almost adjusts his proportions because it makes his legs look longer rather than the original looks a little bit almost like he's standing inside a crate. It's a very different look, isn't it?
It really is.
Well, actually, by the time this episode goes live, I'm guessing a whole bunch of people are going to have this in hand because it is technically, today is the day it was supposed to ship from Hasbro Pulse UK at least. I didn't get any notifications, but...
It's just our look, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Well, I reckon by the time this is live and everyone is listening to this on open access, I think that they will be in hand and we'll know what the score is.
One final thing I just quickly wanted to say on Hand, if I may, was that the other thing with these pictures is that, you're looking at the picture on a computer screen. It's quite sizable. I mean, I'm looking at it now and, the picture is as big as my computer screen. That's actually bigger than the Hound toy, and like, I don't want to sound silly, but the Hound is a tiny little thing. It's the smallest G1 carbot outside of the Minibot, the Omnibots, sorry, and the Minibots. But it's really, really very small. I mean, whenever I post a picture of my G1 Hound with anything else from G1, people that have never seen it in hand are like, is that really how small this toy is? And it's minuscule. So the fact that we're all kind of, poring over this in great detail and saying, I'm not sure about this aspect or that aspect, I think some of it is going to fade away in hand.
Absolutely. Like the phrase, it's different in hand, it really does carry some weight, particularly here, because there are so many toys we pour over and we're looking at them on a computer screen or zoomed in on your phone, and it's not how your eyes actually see them in your hand. And it does carry a lot of weight, particularly here, I think.
Yeah.
With that toy being so small. It's like when people look at like the Minibots and they're like zooming in for tiny details, and you're like, you would never see that with your eyes.
Minibot photography is such a thing because you're taking something that is so tiny and blowing it up huge. It's, definitely.
Well, we've also got, look, it might be speculation, but this has all been true so far. So let's just assume that we are getting a Perceptor and Insecticons, and there's going to be no chrome on those Insecticons, which is actually one of the hugest selling points of those Insecticon toys. It's the
Yeah.
die-cast and the chrome and the translucent plastic. If that's all a thing of the past, I think almost those guys will be the toughest sell for me, is the Insecticons on, do I really want screen-coloured Insecticons? But then it's just another colour of G1 Insecticons, and yeah, I mean, why not?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, with all of this, I don't know. Like, we already have the toy-coloured ones, don't we, with the chrome?
Yeah.
So this is something different. And would I prefer them to have chrome? Yeah, probably. But actually, I'm kind of into the idea of the Insecticons with the grey plastic. I think that could look kind of neat. I'd be into it. Maybe with solid colour. I presume it would be solid colour chests as well. Solid yellow chests and things. I think
Grey
it'll look
chest
super
bombshell.
different.
Yeah. Grey
Well,
chest
that's what I was going to
bombshell,
ask
that's
is, how are they going to do that? Because then he's got to be purple chest for the bug mode.
Maybe they'll do it just all grey and just maybe favour the cartoon robot mode. Because
I reckon.
I much prefer the purple, but I've got so many of those. I've owned so many of those over the years. I'm here for another colour. It's really cool.
I think that's how you've got to treat this stuff, Maz, because
Yeah,
I don't know. Like even with Hot Rod, I think with Hot Rod you were right, Maz. It was specifically because it wasn't the prototype, and we all wanted the prototype. So it was kind of like, well, if it doesn't have the chrome, it's not quite perfect. But a few of us have had a good old go anyway at bashing it into something that looks like the prototype. And with Starscream, the fun was in just seeing that mold in completely a new presentation that had never been done before. And that's kind of what I'm into with Hound as well. And yeah, there's no chrome, but it's different. And I think the Insecticons will be that again, for sure.
What about Perceptor? I mean, they're not going to give him a cartoon face, are they?
No, I doubt. I would imagine not. I'd be surprised if there's any remolding on any of these toys. I'd be super surprised. And it's not like the G1 Perceptor toy colours were hugely off the animation model, but it'll still be fun to see.
Yeah, and that, of course, has chrome on the scope and on the dials. So if you lose that, and you lose the stickers that bring some much-needed detail to otherwise a very, very basic coloured toy, I'm holding out a tiny bit of hope that we are getting a remolded head, because I think that would nail Perceptor on as a must-have. I think surely,
must be something that's different, isn't it? Because it's like Sixo just said, it's not a world away as it is. The original toy from the cartoon, there's not that much they could change beyond basically just removing the chrome. That's the bulk of it, isn't it?
When was the last Perceptor reissue? Did I space on there being one in the Walmart line? There was one?
Not in Walmart. It was a Platinum Edition one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Platinum, right. I knew there was one semi-recently. That was it. So I think the blues and stuff could be a little bit different on Perceptor, but and I'm sure the red will be slightly off, but I guess it'll have an opaque chest versus the kind of clear chest with the chrome and stuff and the clear window. But
just on the Platinum set, they did give new accessories for Perceptor. I don't know if you remember, they gave little slides and stuff. So
that's right.
Maybe they could do that for a head. Just mold a new head and keep whacking them all on.
Didn't they remold Starscream's head for the Walmart reissue, actually? Isn't it a slightly different mold to the previous reissues?
I don't know. Is it?
Now
I think it's actually a slightly different mold, yeah. Anyway, let's hold out hope for Perceptor having an actual...
He's getting a new head, everybody!
Yeah, he's getting a new head. Yeah,
M.A.S.K confirms, new head.
Okay.
I'd love that. That really would make it.
Let's move on to the ones we'd like to see based on the parameters this line seems to be setting. And we've got 4 confirmed releases now. Yeah, who'd like to go first? Sixo, great of you to volunteer. You go first.
Oh, okay. Oh, so what's my gig now? I've got to talk about ones that might happen.
One that you've chosen to...
One list.
Yeah. A list of one. Yeah. That you believe
a list
and would
of
like
several
to see in
ones.
No, because there's 3 of us on the podcast. By the time
Right.
we're all done speaking, because we all speak, in case you hadn't noticed, then there will be more than one.
He doesn't like that, Maz, when
No.
we speak.
Okay. But I have several that are very important. That's the thing.
Well, we might mention one of those, because we also have thoughts and opinions.
But then I'm leaving that to chance, aren't I? That's the thing.
Maybe we'll let you talk again later.
Oh,
Put more on that
no
later.
guarantee of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More on
There
everything
will be.
later.
Okay, so look, it was a tough choice on this one, and there are 2 that I'm going to mention. No, there's only one that I'm going to mention. Don't worry. I think for me, there is another one, but I suspect you will say it, so I'll leave it. I think for me, it's Ultra Magnus is the one that I think would be not only very possible, because I feel like, this mold has only been reissued, I say only, probably 20 years ago, sort of around 2001, I think was probably the last, 2002 was the last reissue. Oh no, hang on, wasn't there a 2012? Yes, there was.
Really?
Just checking. Yeah. So I'm just checking the old wiki as we go. It just says here the figure was given a surprise re-release in late 2012.
Oh, in
commemorative series. Yeah.
So
there
a commemorative
you go. So actually
reissue.
Yeah, a reissue, whatever that
like
is called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feasibly, only 11 years ago that it was last used. So I think this is possible, man. Like, I really do. So it's a mold that's been reissued many, many times over. So you have to figure they have the mold. They can use it with modern technology, which, this was one of the things that, not to drop his name in again, but old B.M.A.K directly said
Your
to
boy.
me was that, my boy, was that it's not just about, I think a lot of people are like, oh, do they still have the mold and is the mold broken or not? But he was very direct. He said it's not even so much a case of that. It's, can the mold be used with the current technology? And, that's more their consideration. But clearly, if Ultra Magnus is being reissued, it can be. And I also think it would look nothing shy of stunning in a new color scheme. I mean, we've seen this thing done in, obviously, Shining Magnus colors. And I won't give him his other name, so you don't have to bleep me. And then, he's had the movie preview colors, which is beyond stunning, and these classic baby blue. But just imagine the dark blue with like a nicely painted face, and all of that. It would just look exceptional, I think.
Yeah, I wonder how many people would be disappointed if it wasn't in Diaclone / movie trailer colors. How would they react to a screen accurate G1
This is a
Magnus?
chance for them to do it, though, isn't it? They could have like a separate reissue of him in those colors too. Have a little trailer version. The thing that's probably going to kill it slightly, though, is the ginormous missiles, isn't it? Like, particularly ridiculous on Magnus because they, sticking out like he's got some sort of pole vaulter thing, poles stuck in his shoulder.
Unfortunately, I think that is the case. The missiles, the long missiles, that was what was on the commemorative series reissue. So I think there's a good chance, unfortunately. But hopefully, in that case, you can just stick a pair of extra G1 missiles in, and it's not like Starscream.
You can't.
You can't?
No, because I've got the one from the early 2000s, and when I got it, I thought, haha, I can just do that. I've got loads of those missiles. Nope. They keyed differently on the end to like a T shape. So, and the launchers are retooled specifically for that purpose. So you'd have to get the old launchers, which are often quite yellow, aren't they, by this point? So I had to cut the stem off the rocket and glue it together really badly, and it sucked.
I love the length that they go to with these new missiles. That they don't just give you new longer missiles. That the length, That but they actually remold the launchers, so they're like,
It's cruel. It's really cruel.
It's cruel.
Yeah, I can't imagine some sort of health and safety guy going, but surely these kids in 2023 they'll be able to go and find these Magnus missiles from 1986 all over the
hilarious.
place
And choke someone.
Yeah. Probably will have long missiles. I mean, at least it won't choke Liam.
There is, I would just like to, just on this though, there is something that really confuses me, is that, we were talking about the Starscream ones, but I assume this goes for Magnus too, is that when they did the Platinum Cone heads, they had the small, thin missiles rather than the long missiles that we get now. But we also got in the early 2000s, it's always on the single releases of Starscream or whatever, they would have the long null rays. But on the Platinum set that I've got, I think it's, Thrust has the normal ones, doesn't he? But his are the old size, like the vintage size.
I wonder if that's something to do with it being a Hasbro Asia initiative versus like a Walmart or something like that. I know they turned up in Toys R Us in Western countries, but but I think it was a Hasbro Asia thing, which might explain why the missiles were a little more standard shaped.
That would
it could just simply even be that that Walmart in that case are sort of getting involved or whatever. I don't know, because they were stumping up some of the cost, weren't they? So who's to say? But I think Ultra Magnus could look magnificent. Honestly, I think the darker blue for me would be a huge selling point. I don't know how you would do his pants and his upper legs and all of that, because of course you've got the kind of solid red of the body. Such to kind of make the car carrier mode. But I guess maybe a bit like the Insecticons and like with Bombshell we were saying, potentially they sacrifice the trailer mode a little bit in order to give him like a pair of white thighs and like a pair of blue pants. What do you think?
You could do that though, because you could paint the bed of the trailer white, but leave the sides red, and you would still get that red look on the side, wouldn't you? But you could just paint the front.
You would.
Don't want that.
Yeah.
Don't want that at all.
Yeah.
You'd have such wide thighs, honestly.
Yeah. What would you do, Mez?
I would just leave it as it was.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Because you've got the white shins in a way.
I can't see them doing that though. I don't know. Because
It's
like with Hot Rod, they've really made the use of that mold, haven't they, to kind of bring out the lower bit of the legs with the extra orange or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I can't see them leaving him with red thighs.
Are they going to do the red bumper? Like, when you see him in the movie, does he have a red bumper in the movie?
He does.
Then that's what they're going to do, isn't it? They're going to give him a
that
red
would be
bumper.
That'd be amazing.
That would be exciting to see.
I've had so many Ultra Magnets over the year with silver bumpers. I will be so happy to see the red one as well. It's so striking, in photography and stuff.
Yeah, so much so. Do you remember when the Masterpiece came out and everyone was like, why does he have a red bumper? And it was such a big thing. And then there was like screenshot galore, wasn't it? So I would kind of wonder if the little thing on his chest, which was obviously the Diaclone pilot, kind of little jet thing, I presume that they would paint part of that red because, on his animation model, it's kind of almost cut out, isn't it? There's sort of bottom inner bits of it.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
It looks more like a T than it does
instead
a
of the
sort
fins,
of solid
doesn't it?
piece. Yeah.
It would be nice to see them go to those kind of lengths, actually. That would make it very, very interesting.
Yeah, I really think that this is going to be a complicated one, perhaps because it's a Diaclone original mold and, therefore isn't quite as accurate to, it wasn't made along with the movie designs at the time.
I can't see them repainting that chest piece from the image you've dropped. I think that'll just absolutely just be dark blue.
Do you think so, though? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I kind of wonder if they might try and, fudge it a bit with paint and just kind of have the inner bits red. But like with Hot Rod, I think what struck me about that was that it showed how close the Hot Rod mold actually was all this time to that movie design. Little details that we'd never noticed, like the little square on his head crest and things like that just weren't that perceptible necessarily. Whereas with Magnus, there's definitely a lot more variance.
I am so interested into how they would paint his legs now and his waist as well, because obviously he has a blue waist, doesn't he? In the animation,
yeah, the blue
on
pants.
The toy. He's just wearing his onesie, his red onesie.
He's got his little onesie pajamas on, doesn't he? Yeah. I mean, the arms are kind of obvious. That's fine. Would you get an Autobot logo on the right shoulder?
If it was painted or tampoed, yeah, maybe.
But it's not flat though, is it? It's like
be hard to do.
Detailed, isn't it? So it'd be really tough to do that.
Unless they flatten it off somehow, but I don't know. I'm also wondering about the face because, of course, he's got no eyes essentially, doesn't he? It's a proper mask. Whether they would fill in the eyes or not for this, and if they're talking about retooling or even put in, maybe they could mold some little kind of clear plastic bits to go in there or something. I don't know.
So what I'm thinking is we're just going to get the cab.
Painted in blue Ultra Magnus colours.
Well, what would they do with the cab?
It's just red bumper.
Yeah,
comes
just
with a big blue head.
But that would be interesting because then you'd have the white prime, presumably no chrome, with a red bumper on the chest, wouldn't you? It would be there in robot mode as well for the white prime. That would be weird to see.
Yeah, I am worried that all of these considerations and complications might make it quite off-putting for them to tackle Magnus, and also it'd be a really big toy.
Yeah, it's one you'd want to get right.
Yeah, I mean, I think Devastator is probably the most voluminous box they've released for the reissues. But if you're going to do Devastator, I'd love them to do Magnus, just because I want an answer to all the questions we've been posing. For
me, Magnus is one of the more intriguing ones, purely because it's not a ground-up movie, 1986 design. I guess Perceptor's not as well, and the Insecticons are not, and Hound's not. But this is one that really kind of sticks out as being like there's a lot of considerations here, those pants, those thighs, the face, the white prime, the bumper, it all adds up. It's a really intriguing prospect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good shout.
I think they'd prioritise the robot mode, but yeah, great shout.
I think they would as well. I really would. I kind of want to see a Digibash now, like a mock-up. Maybe we can get old Chris Kachube to do a number on it. That would be super fascinating to see.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Okay, well, it's that time for the part of the pod where we're going to talk about our sponsors, and that is tfsource.com for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And as ever, we're going to have a look at what they've got up for pre-order and in stock at the moment. And I think we were all just kind of briefly saying there that what's actually caught our eye is the G2 Universe Legacy Toxitron. And this thing, wow, the colours on it, right?
Definitely toxic.
Yeah, right. It's like Toxic Avenger.
Or if it was like releasing the Titans Return era, do you think the headmaster would have been called like Britney?
No, I really do
No.
like his massive lollipop.
Yeah, it's something, isn't it? So I actually also love the fact, I've got to mention this, there's no way I can't mention this, that in some of the stock photos, have you seen it's broken?
What? No?
Yeah. There's here. I'll show you this this one stock photo so that you don't miss it. This was pointed out. A couple of people noticed this on Twitter. So have a look there in the little lollipop. Can you see at the top? There's like a snapped off part.
Oh,
That's from the That's from the sword, which kind of slots into
Oops.
the top there. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
he broke his
Whoa.
lollipop.
His reaction looks horrified by it, doesn't he? He's like, no,
Yeah, he
I
does.
broke my
No,
lollipop."
my lollipop. A lot of people have been it's caused a lot of comment on Twitter. Fair to say, good and bad. And I say good and bad because, like, bad in the sense of people are like, how on earth does this happen? It's ridiculous. Da 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 da. You know, all of that. And then a lot of people just going, whatevs. Like, get over it. Basically, it's a classic kind of sort of range of Twitter reactions. For my part, it just made me laugh because I was like, it's so representative of the actual toy photography taking experience that these kind of mistakes seep through into the official shots as well. I think it's great.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it really made me chuckle.
Love
So-
his red chest windows and
Oh,
the
yeah.
two colours on his head. Really nice looking toy, actually.
He really does look like Hubba Bubba, doesn't he?
Jolly Ranchers on the chest for me.
Green and the purple is so... Oh, it just makes me want some sweets. I love it.
I got to tell you, this is what the fourth version of this mold now. Like it's coming out pretty quick, and it's the one so far that I've looked at that I'm like, yeah, man, that's pretty swish.
I just realised he's also mistransformed in that photo.
No,
Sorry, yeah, his shins, the little flaps are up.
they are. Oh my god, they
Yeah,
absolutely
they're
are.
supposed to flip down, aren't they?
Oh my god, that photo's a disaster. That was one that they definitely should have left in the drafts. Yeah, that's hilarious.
For me, I think what I am surprised that I like is the Nemesis Prime Canon R5. Now, I had no interest in these Canon ones, and then they started arriving in people's collections. Yours, Sixo, you took a photo of it next to an actual camera. I was like, that actually looks really good. My brother noticed it and messaged me and said, have you seen this? Well, he used slightly more colourful language. but then I saw the Nemesis Prime one, and it just didn't look like someone had stuck different coloured limbs on the side of a camera because it's actually a uniform colour scheme. I thought, that's the one that works for me.
Yeah, I could see
Really
that.
does.
I could see that. It's super cool. I actually haven't transformed mine yet. I've been too enamored with it in camera mode. It's just exceptional, honestly. And like, I was saying to you both on our chat that, I mean, it is undersized versus an actual Canon camera. It's not 1-to-1 by any means, but it's sort of close enough that it just about works. I would love it if it was 1-to-1, but it's not. So hey ho. And but it's the detail of it, the fact that actually some of the little knobs and buttons and things you can press them, and there is kind of play value there. But even little things like where the metal parts are on your normal camera, such as like round the lens rim and like on the top for the flash thing, that kind of thing. It's actually just painted on the toy, but it looks like metal even up close. Super impressive finish on it and quite spectacular. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
My choice is the fantastically named Microcosmos Lucky Cat Metallic Paint Elvis, which is a tiny
What?
little third-party scaled Voltron.
Whoa, is it tiny?
Yeah, it's only like 6 inches tall, but it all forms down. I've got their Devastator coming in, based on the War Within design. But they've done a Voltron. They've done one previously in regular colours, but they've done a metallic version. It's really small, and it looks tremendous. It transforms, and according to this TF Source listing, they've done a gold version, which just says above it, Lucky Draw.
Ooh, lucky cat, lucky draw.
Yeah. I was talking to patron and good friend Josh at Mini TFN the other day, and he was saying about how he's got the other one and how great it is, and yeah, sold me on it.
Looks cool. Love a bit of Voltron.
He's a good lad, Josh. Yeah,
Yeah,
trust him.
fantastic. Voltron's great. I'd love them to do the vehicle Voltron in this form as well.
Okay, well, fantastic. 3 great toys there for you to consider. Do go and check them out at tfsource.com, who you can find now for all your Transformers and third-party needs. Thanks very much for
And
sponsoring the
Diaclone.
pod. And Diaclone.
And Voltron.
We now return to the Transformers.
And we're back with Retro Transformers, the movie G1 Walmart Retro Reissue Vintage Repaints. And Liam has stolen my answer. So what is your choice for this line?
Or maybe you stole mine. Who can tell? Who knows? All we know is that we both now get to talk about it. But, working within the constraints of this, because it's good to remind people that this is supposed to be a realistic choice, isn't it? Based on what we've seen reissued in the past and what's likely, not just a wonderful pie in the sky ideas we'd like. But this one, I think, is the most enticing one of the whole lot, which is Astro Train.
100%.
Dispute that.
This is... Yeah, but you like all the ones that are only like slightly different shades of different. This one is completely
kidding me?
different.
No, man, no. This has been done.
Darker blue Ultra Magnus.
It's
But,
been done.
It hasn't been
This
done.
exists.
No,
it exists.
this
It
hasn't
hasn't.
been done. No, it doesn't.
Yes, it has. I own it.
Think about everything that's going to be different with this one. It's
Yeah.
going to have a white face, which, Astro Train G1 toys have never had a different colored helmet to face. It's either been all white or all grey. It's
All
not
white.
going to have the hot pink of the e-hobby. It's going to have Decepticon purple, which the e-hobby didn't have. And it's also not going to cost £500 because
Well,
you
there is
can't
that.
get one
Yes.
for
This is
love
the
nor
key,
money.
Yeah.
the key component here is that.
Yeah. And understand, look, I'm not trying to pull up the old drawbridge after I've crossed it. Do you know what I mean? So yes, in regards to the
You're
e-hobby
burning
one,
it. Set it
No,
alight.
it's definitely
Is he
not.
smashing the ladder
Castles
to
in cinders,
pieces?
yeah.
I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I'm perfectly look. I go back to my earlier statement, which is that I'm up for any of this. Do you know what I mean? If you give me a G1 toy, whatever it is, in a different color scheme, bring it on, baby. Do you know what I mean? I'm currently I was the one at TFN Minicon the other day that genuinely looked at that line of Warpaths that Toyfu had done, and I was like, I could just have all of these. Do you know what I mean? This is the whole rainbow. I'd be thrilled to own all of those. And I
Taste
got
that
2,
rainbow,
as it was.
Sixo.
So, yeah, exactly. Oh no, I would love to have done just run my tongue all down the line there. That would have been nice. But
Sixo doing lines in Manchester, brilliant. Headline
yeah, exactly.
achieved.
What happens in Manchester stays in Manchester. But
It was
the
a
thing
different
with
panel
this,
to what I remember.
that's why it was so good. But this wasn't so much energy, No, none of this is true, by the way. Whoever's listening to this is not true. But what I will say about Astro Train is I'd be well up for it. It's just not top tier excitement level for me in terms of if there are some that could happen and feasibly, might happen, it's not up there for me as oh man, can't wait for that.
There is no point in this line existing if we don't get Astro Train. I will consider it a total flop if we don't get Astro Train. And I have the e-hobby Astro Train. It is exactly what a line like this was created for, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't want a white line with another white Astro Train, do you?
That's the thing, though. Come on. We were talking about Raz's prototype collection last episode, and he has a lot of prototypes in many, many different stages of awesome. He owns Unicron. But for me, if I could have one thing out of his collection, it would be his grey Astro Train. There is something about that prototype in those colours that you see in the catalogue, because it's so close to screen Astro Train, that I would still have today over the e-hobby. And this is the same thing. I would be so excited for a perfectly screen accurate Astro Train. I really would. And
I don't know that it is that close though, the prototype, because it's the grey is not the same. You'd be looking at a really flat grey for cartoon, really flat grey. It would be a lighter grey than the e-hobby version. It would be much lighter grey than the prototype. And the purple would be not quite as potent as the prototype as well, I suspect.
Great, even better. A new colour.
Yeah, well, exactly. it definitely wouldn't be as vibrant. The purple on the eHobby version is absolutely not screen accurate. It's fair to
Right,
say.
exactly.
It's almost pink, isn't it? It's quite bizarre, the purple on that.
And it's got the gold boosters of the prototype, so that's like a difference that the eHobby one has that this one won't. This will have screen colored boosters.
Yeah.
It's different enough to stand out from all the other versions so far, and I really hope they paint his face, because if they do that, it will just be chef's
they
kiss.
would.
I'm really looking forward to Astro Train.
And with Astro Train as well, like his color scheme is so iconic to him, isn't it? Like his cartoon color scheme, he's always depicted that way, despite the way his vintage toy never is, and even the eHobby version, the prototypes are all different from that. And I think that's the one that really needs to be addressed of all of these. Like any other one you do, you're like, it doesn't really matter. They're great, it's lovely. This one, you're like, it feels like it has to happen.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be excited for it. Look, if it got announced tomorrow, I'd lap it up, man. I'd be all over it. I'd be like, yeah, great, wow. And I do think you're right. The painted head, so like with the purple helmet and the white face, I think that would be the key selling point for me, is that would look amazing, no doubt. And I'm sure they would find a way to kind of breathe new life into the mold. I just know that there's quite a sizable list of toys ahead of that I would be more excited for, personally.
And another thing is, it wouldn't have stickers, which is usually one of the main things that ruins an Astro Train's look, is the stickers. I put the stickers on the Walmart one, and they were terrible, like legit terrible. Vintage one always has problems with the clear stickers on the fins. This would just not have that problem.
What would entice me is if they brought back the extending arms.
Total fantasy.
I know it is, but that
fantasy.
Is,
sweet fantasy, baby.
That would get me out of bed.
Well, I'm with Liam on this one. I think Astro Train is a brilliant shout. And I really think it's possible, because we've had him so regularly in the recent reissues. It's the kind of thing that people are missing from their collection. I mean, not a lot of people have that eHobby one. But one thing to keep in mind is that when that eHobby one was announced, it wasn't popular. And that is the main thing that has led to it being scarce today. And then just something clicked for everyone. Like, we're missing out on a screen accurate Astro Train. Oh dear, it's too late. And we've just had Astro Train, and we had it in the UK as well from Xavi. It's probably been pretty widely bought for anyone who was even remotely interested. I don't think the white one is very difficult to source. The vintage G1 Astro Train is everywhere.
Yeah, it's not hard to come across.
That's my only thing. But screen accurate, I think it means a lot. And it's not eHobby. It's different. Never going to cost as much as the eHobby. I think it will make a difference.
I've never owned like the eHobby one, obviously. And so for me, this would be like the killer toy in the line. There's a pink hot rod, obviously. But like you just said there, one of my concerns is Astro Train reissues always tend to sit around. They always seem to be ones that are clearance and available really cheaply in almost every reissue line. And like you even said with the eHobby one, which is super expensive and really coveted, at the time, it sat around. There doesn't ever seem to be that much excitement or interest in that toy, which is really sad because it's a great little toy.
No, it's just you two harping on about it. That's all. No one else gives their monkeys. No, I'm only joking.
How would you feel if you didn't have the eHobby? How would you feel if you didn't have the eHobby?
He'd be in my place right now. He'd be in our place even, yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. Of course, there's an element of like, I already own the hobby, so the excitement for it is slightly diminished. Of course there is. That's only natural. But we're speaking from a personal taste, but personal preference point of view, aren't we? I can't just pretend I don't own it and be like, oh, wouldn't it be great? And no, absolutely for people that don't own the hobby, I'd be thrilled. And I'm not the kind of person that would begrudge that at all. And God, I would pick it up. I would happily display it next to the eHobby, the original. But I don't know. For me, it's also the fact that this has just been a mold that we've seen so much of as well. Whereas there are other molds that have potential that have never been repainted. Never. And as you said, you can still get vintage Astro Train. You can get the Platinum Edition one. There are all these different ones. The Transformers Collection one. It's not a hard mold to acquire, and in multiple different color schemes. Whereas, we've never had, let's say, another Blur. Just to throw that out there. Sorry, Liam, but it's one that I would just love to see. That's all, as an example. Just because to me, there's some interest in seeing something that's only ever been done in one color scheme, done in a second one.
That's fair. They've never reissued Blur though, have they?
No.
No, that's my point. Yeah. But I do think you're right. it would be super exciting. I mean, I just found this heavy kit bashed version that I've just posted on the thread. It's on TFW now. Clearly, someone's done a custom of it. I just found it. This is non-metal from TFW from 2017. The post has done their own scratched version of it. It looks amazing.
Yeah, they've got extendable arms on it too, though, haven't they? That and the white one.
That, yeah. Well, the colours are spot on with the head.
Yeah, the colours are bang on. And obviously he's changed the face a little bit to look more like the cartoon, but I love the fact that they're going to probably use the toy head in cartoon colours. That would be my absolute ideal. So
Yeah.
I just think if they want to make this line a success, they want to sell as many as possible, there's a real possibility they're just going to run out of stuff to do if they stick to too tight a parameter. And this is absolutely perfect for what they're trying to do with this line.
Yeah.
We just had a Starscream. This is not as different from that Starscream as this Astro Train would be from the Walmart. In fact, even Hot Rod is arguably not as different as Astro Train would be from the one that just came out.
Versus the Walmart. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I think
versus
that's it.
the Walmart.
So within these constraints, because there are definitely other toys I would way prefer to get reissues ahead of this, but within the constraints of what we're looking at here, I think this is the one that stands out so much as being so different from what's come before it, or what's more widely available.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, if we get Astro Train and nothing else, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Really? No,
yeah,
I can't
absolutely.
fly with that.
Not kidding. No, seriously. I could even live without Skywarp. We get Thundercracker and Starscream in these cards. Even if we don't get Skywarp, I'm absolutely fine as long as we get Grey Astro Train in cartoon cards.
I'm absolutely fine without an Astro Train as long as we get like 10 other things.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? I think for a lot of people like me and you, Maz, if Hasbro had said we're going to make 2 toys in this style, which would you pick? It would have been Hot Rod and Astro Train straight
Spot
away.
on.
It would have been, that's it. Like, I would love everything else, but if I only could have 2, it's those 2 right out the gate.
Yeah, I get that. I do understand it, even if I don't personally, agree with it in terms of my tastes. And that's fair enough. This is not controversial opinions.
4.
Yeah.
Or is it?
I was going to pick Astro Train, but then something else came up in our discussions earlier today, and that kind of stuck with me. And now I really very much want a pink Rodimus Prime done up exactly the way Hot Rod was done up. And Chris Chichicha has done a digibash of this, and sure enough, it looks spectacular. Absolutely beautiful, with the Tampo chest to look like the cartoon, the way that the pink Hot Rod does the grey at the bottom, and they use the colours to make it really defined where his shins are and where his knees are.
Clever touch.
I just recently got the rubber-wheeled vintage Rodimus Prime. I've never owned that before, and I've never owned a reissue Rodimus Prime. So I got to experience what Rodimus Prime is like with rubber wheels. And even though that is the poster boy for G1 bricks, I tell you what, those rubber tires make an enormous difference to that toy. And it's not just the rubber, it's the different hub as well. So that just makes the vehicle mode infinitely more fun. So assuming they give us rubber wheels on that toy, and I think I'd even be all right with half rubber wheels like the Hot Rod has, like some weird harder rubber or softer plastic, but they have the hubs from the reissue. That would be a great place to go. And I'm just thinking, what would that trailer for Rodimus look like in pink? That'd just be amazing with tampoed flames on the side. And of course, we've already gone down the rabbit hole of buying another reissue Hot Rod to have the chrome to put on this one. We'd just do the same, wouldn't we? We'd get vintage Rodimus with some good chrome, or reissue Rodimus, and you just put that on the side, and then you'd have chrome on his arms, chrome on the side of the trailer, pink color, probably a really nice color of canopy as well. Lovely tampos on the chest, and it would just look beautiful next to the Hot Rod we've already got. I mean, how could they miss this? This can't not do Rodimus, right?
Yeah, I think if they've got the mold and they can use the mold and all of that jazz, then, oh man, it would be so nice to see. And so different for a toy that has never been recolored, other than the Primus, Lucky Draw, gold reissue, repaint, sorry, that it's never been done. So it would just be exceptional to see happen. This is if anything, maybe even more than Magnus, this is my number one.
Yeah, I'd never considered this until you mentioned it in the chat earlier, and all of a sudden it was like a door opening in my mind, like, oh my god, of course, and it would look amazing, but also suddenly it feels like extremely like realistic because you're like they've been riding this wave of the pink hot rod sort of wave, and they'd be very excited about that. And you're like, look, we've also done it here. There's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if anything, maybe the pink hot rod reissue would be a reason that they might not do this, actually, because maybe they would feel that it's too similar somehow and that it's already kind of been done. I don't know, but it's pure speculation.
It could be. I mean, we've had Rodimus, he's had quite a few reissues over the year, hasn't he? In Japan and here and in the West. So
only the one in Japan, that was the early 2000s, and then commemorative.
Yeah.
I don't think the commemorative is that easy to find, actually.
All right. I thought you had a Takara collection one, but obviously...
No, not Rodimus Prime.
Didn't. Oh, yeah.
I do wonder about the mold then. Like, does it work with modern tech? Even, because it was reissued 20-odd years ago now. So I do wonder, but I think it's such a key movie character that if you're going to do a movie line, you've got to have a Rodimus as well as a Hot Rod. It's like the main character arc in the movie.
And I suppose if Hound, if they were able to do Hound, who was also done so long ago, you must feel like... Yeah.
That's what's thrown everything
still
up
on
in
the
the
table.
air. Yeah.
To some degree.
It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible that this could happen, I think. It's in the... For me, there are some... Sunstreaker is one we mentioned earlier. It feels like that's probably never going to happen.
No.
It just feels like that's going to fall into... I'm not saying no, like definitely, definitively, but probably not. But Rodimus, I don't know. Yeah, there's an air of... There's just something about it that feels like maybe it could happen.
Oh my god, could you imagine we got that and then also got like the dark, deep purple Galvatron based like on the animation though. Not the... Because like the Tara one's really nice. Like we've got
kind of a lavender almost. It's yeah.
They also do it, but you want that bluey purple from the movie.
That would be
definitely
amazing.
Well, yeah, that would be, just to see the two of them together. I kind of feel like if we got a pink Rodimus, it would be like the victory lap from Pink Hot Rod, right? It would be like when
that's what it feels like.
Yeah, well, when like Olympians, when they win once at one Olympics and then they've got to come back and do it all again. Do you know what I mean? It would be like that sort of feeling of second time glory.
Yeah. Also, there was never a pink Rodimus proto, so this would be a supremely special one-off. It's got no precedent. It would just be purely for this line, just like Thundercracker.
I think in a way that would lessen my need to see it with Chrome or anything like that. I'd be just happy with it as it was, as a sort of separate piece. It'd still be fun to do a hybrid, but the Chrome on the Hot Rod was very much about getting that proto, whereas this is a sort of separate thing. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, you wouldn't need stickers or anything like that to augment it or make it hit a note. It's just... Yeah,
it would just be cartoon Rodimus and done in a way that we've never seen that mold done before. I think that would be super exciting. I do think the purple Galvatron would be an incredible shout as well.
I have no problem with buying another Galvatron. I would love another Galvatron. Just like I'd love another Rodimus Prime. I have no problem buying more of those.
I only got the purple one last year, as you know, and I adore it. But we never get Galvatron in that colour that he was in the movie, ever. It's always this lilac or like a darker toy-style purple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Takara thing, isn't it? That sort of lilac-y purple, very much so. Whereas I could sort of see Hasbro going a different route on that. But I think, that's just coming back to the Astro Train discussion, that was just kind of my thing there, was that, I mean, rattling off a few other names, I mentioned Blur, but like Springer and people like that as well, Galvatron, all of these characters, these toys that have only ever been done. This is where I'm having my cake and eating it and being like, and this and this and this. But all of these molds that have been done like one time over or maybe a handful of times over. And I think to see them in this sort of style would just be exceptional. Even Wheelie, I can honestly say I would be intrigued to see what it would look like.
Yeah, give that guy a new lease of life.
Just make it able to stand.
Yeah.
That got a long way to warming me to Wheelie, I think.
Yeah.
Because neither the vintage nor the reissue ones stand very well.
Yeah. Hurdle number 1, stand. Hurdle number 2, not be shit. That's if they can achieve that somehow.
So basically just make a new G1 Wheelie.
Right, from the ground up.
Heavy remold.
That's what I'm saying, though. Don't look like a urinal. So that's what I like. Honestly, with these toys, like even G1 Wheelie, which is by far and away my least favorite
Oh my
G1
God.
toy. I think we've
Sorry, a
mentioned that.
urinal for Piss Magnus.
Why have I never thought of this? Oh God,
Sorry.
that's
What
what
have
photo
you
needs
done?
doing.
Oh my God.
Sixo, you've got
That's
a
not
photo of
going away.
Wheelie where you talk about how bad a toy it is, and you've actually got him stood in front of this like stone wall pattern, and there's like a little niche in the wall. You think it just looks like a urinal.
Yeah.
He does look like a urinal. Yeah, genuinely. It's a hilarious toy. I've said before it's my least favorite G1 toy, I think.
Same.
And it's a bit irredeemable, but even then, I would be intrigued to see it in a retro color scheme.
Just going back to Rodimus, what would you do with the trailer parts? For example, you open up the trailer. Would the cannon and everything be the same color as G1, or would it I don't think I've ever seen the on-screen cannon in this trailer in season 3. I don't recall. Is there some kind of precedent for the color? Would you just go with what MP9 did in terms of colors?
That's a good point. I don't think we see it in the cartoon, do we, at all? Or generally in fiction.
I don't recall it.
Does he not carry another car at some point in it?
Hopefully blue streak, and then that could just come with it.
Yeah.
Imagine that, you open up a Rodimus
Accessory.
and all of a sudden there was actually a secret blue streak inside all along. Surprise!
I'd be fine with however it looked, to be honest. I don't know. I guess it's funny because the original is obviously non-chromed, grey, so it could just look very much the same, I suppose. But I'd be fine with it, however. I think just to have the trailer, obviously you would need the trailer because the car mode without is it's not really a thing. It'd be interesting to see.
Would you take Galvatron without electronics if they did it in those colours?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good shout.
100%.
I'm just thinking if they could remove the cannon from Rodimus, whether you could fit like a pink hot rod inside.
No.
Wow. No.
How do you know? Is it not wide enough? Have you tried it?
No, definitely not. No, not long enough. I don't think. I think it'd be interesting to see what they did with stuff like the rub sign, because of course there was no rub sign on Hot Rod, and they retooled out the rub sign sort of nook, didn't they? Even have I got that right? They removed the little nub for the rub sign, didn't they? Is it?
It's definitely there.
It's
in some
still
of the
there.
photos. Yeah. Just
is it still there? Oh no,
Yeah.
okay. It's me that's got it wrong then. Yeah, okay. I misremembered. So they've left the tooling in, but like with Rodimus, the rub sign is on the very top of the trailer, like quite prominently, and that would be quite a noticeable.
Is it at the
thing to
front on the
miss,
top,
I don't
isn't
know.
it?
Yeah.
That pointy bit, the overhanging
Yes.
bit.
Yeah,
It's fine. Compromise I can live with.
yeah, 100%.
All right, those are the ones that we think we're making a case for, that we're quite happy to see and we think are likely to be seen. But yeah, going back to the vibe of having a Perceptor and Insecticons, there's a number of other recent Walmart reissues that could very easily find themselves in this line, isn't there? Like, I would go Soundwave. Imagine we could have a very...
Yeah.
Cassettes.
Great chance to get Ratbat out again.
I'd be amazed if that doesn't happen. Amazed.
Same. It would be really fun to have a screen-accurate Soundwave G1 toy.
With like white lower legs and stuff like that.
Yeah, the white mouthpiece as well.
Yeah.
Although I think Encore sort of did that, didn't it? Encore went with a different face colour compared to the regular toy.
I think it'd look really striking, with the yellow outline for the tape door as well. Cause
Interesting, yeah.
the gold is lovely, and I'd probably prefer it, but to see it, the yellow as well, just to see it done, those colours would look beautiful, I think.
Yeah, it would look really nice. Maybe because it wouldn't be chrome, would it? I guess it would be a flat yellow.
Yeah.
Which would be different. And I'd presume a sort of blue tinted door.
And by the same token, Blaster as well is one they very, very likely do.
Yeah, I would imagine that is probably, particularly if Perceptor happens, it feels like that's kind of the same ilk, doesn't it?
Again, it opens the door to those tapes as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, potentially, if they've still got them.
Well, we had them in Encore, which was 2009, 2010.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
True. So yeah.
They're definitely in the reissue camp. Maybe they'll do a alternate universe Optimus Prime as well, as they now call him, in dead mode.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Optimus,
I mean, that actually would be intriguing to see in the G1 mold, because it's not been done. So that would be very weird, but also kind of fun, I guess. Corpse Optimus.
The Corpse Prime. I mean, because they are bound to try and get Optimus in there somewhere, or you would assume they would. But like the regular Optimus, the cartoon isn't that far away. It's just really removing the silver stripe with blue eyes, isn't it? Really, that's the bulk of it.
And the chrome, no chrome.
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, that's the thing. You'd have where he's got chromed legs, chrome thighs. You'd have standard just grey plastic, I guess.
I still buy it in a heartbeat. I mean, it's dead interesting to see. But yeah, I would love to know if they're going to do the grey dead one, because it's the thing they're doing all the time now. And every version of Optimus Prime they do is a dead version.
Yeah, but I don't know. This line hasn't done any variants yet. I mean, sure, we've got Thundercracker from Starscream, but that was an on-screen character, and it's a color that Thundercracker has never been on the G1 toy. Like every other version of Thundercracker, like Masterpiece, Classics, they now have that color. Even like Legends class little core things have baby blue. Never on the G1 toy, so that made sense. But intra-release variants like that, like I'd be really surprised. And I don't know if maybe we'd get a Pulse exclusive, which would be a repaint. That's a possibility. I really hope that because of Walmart's involvement in this line, they don't have to follow a very strict market plan that is a repeat of the last Walmart reissue line. I hope they leave themselves the opportunity to do stuff like Balvintron, but without having to do a team up with another enterprise. Like they could just do Hasbro Pulse exclusive Dead Prime or something like that.
It just feels weird because it's the most iconic part of that movie that everyone remembers is Optimus Prime's death. And obviously they churn out so many toys. And the more I think about it, the more I think it'd feel weird if they didn't do it.
Yeah, it just depends how closely they need to stick to Transformers the movie as a feature film in terms of the releases they hit.
True. I kind of think if they were going to do a variant of any character, it would be Optimus. That seems like the obvious one to do the variant of, in which case maybe the alternate universe one is the way forward. I don't know.
Magnus, I think, would be the most obvious one to do a variant of. If they do a Magnus, that trailer version.
What, an exploded one?
Just lots of parts, quartered. I
Pieces.
think a movie trailer Magnus would be a great exclusive. Yeah, we've already had that exclusive.
Diorama
It's
Magnus,
been done,
that's just that one is just in pieces.
Right, exactly.
Here's another consideration, actually. What if they're not allowed to do certain colors because of the exclusivity of the Takara releases, even back in the day? Do you think there's any possible contractual constraint where they can't release Grey Astro Train or they can't release Diaclone colors Magnus because they've already had an exclusive reissue, and it would remove the exclusive tag that those toys were sold with? Because I know companies are very sensitive about calling something an exclusive and then have it turn up somewhere else in the same colors. But I mean, they've done it before with classics and stuff, haven't they?
Right, because it was like an e-hobby originally or whatever it was. So I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, certainly there's ways to make these things different, isn't there? So, and that, something like let's say they did a movie preview Magnus, which to me seems unlikely because it's very niche, and I think this is going for a wider audience than that. But okay, let's say they do. The original is still desirable and still kind of its own thing. I would see there would be room for both.
Do you know, I would absolutely love to get hold of one of the Hasbro designers and just ask them, why did you pick Hound? I'd love to hear the reasons, because if it was just it's available and we haven't had a chance to get as far as doing that one yet, or it just became available, there was like a discovery or something, I would just love to know, because I think that would help answer a lot of questions.
Well, let's get them on.
Okay.
Just call them now.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. What about Orange Metroplex?
Ooh. Just get a regular Metroplex and leave it out in the sun for a bit.
There's Autobot City.
I'd love that. That would be an insta-buy.
Heartbeat buy, wouldn't it? You'd be straight there.
Yeah, it would.
You'd have to buy like 7 or 8 to make a massive Autobot City.
That would be great to see. But no, I think there's tons. That would be really exciting to see. Just looking down the list, I mean, there's the really interesting one would be something like Megatron.
Impossible.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening.
Hasbro Asia exclusive.
No way. I mean, the orange and blue one that you've seen mock-ups of, that thing exists.
Yeah.
But it was never going to get to market. They made it look like a Nerf gun, but it still didn't come to market. Yeah.
I mean, that's as outlandish as you can get. So, because it would be really exciting to see that mold done over. Imagine how they'd paint the face and stuff like that. It'd be super incredible to see.
Someone owns that orange and blue Megatron that you've seen a mock-up of. It's a real thing that exists that somebody owns.
Sure they do. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, absolutely. And the Chrome Seekers and everything as well. What about the Dinobots?
I think that would be the big one, would be Grimlock. That feels like the major G1 character who's missing from the reissues, because he's right up there, isn't he, in that elite category of Optimus Megatron. You'd feel like that would be the one that if they were going to pour money into rebuilding the mold, if that's what they had to do, like they did with the Dino cassettes, didn't they? Where they made a new mod or whatever. Like if there was something that could prompt them to do that, I feel like that would be the character right there. That's the one. And it's such a big part of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. With the Dinobots, there's always been that thing, hasn't there, of what's happened with the molds. They've never been reissued since, well, Generation 2. Who's to say? I don't know. It would be interesting as anything, because that would put to bed a lot of speculation as well about what the state of those molds, if they suddenly made a little comeback. Imagine if you got a new swoop and all of that. We've said it before, but it would just be, that would be truly earth-shattering for me.
Clear plastic Snow, because he's not in the movie.
Yeah, right. A little Invisi Snell.
Do you think it's likely we'll get a Transformers the movie Retro Devastator?
Feels like they love chucking that mold out. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't feel that exciting to me. Like there's already the anime one, which I know, again, not everybody has, but it does exist with the remolded face, the Takara reissue. And I don't know, it's just a mold that's been done so many times. I'm just a bit kind of, yeah. But maybe it'd be fun. I don't know. I think it's feasible that it could happen.
Yeah. I mean, after all, we've had so many Starscreams. And we also had a cartoon Starscream, but we got this one. So I think it's not entirely impossible that we get a cartoon Devastator for this market. And of course, people have, now found out that they do wish they had bought the Walmart Devastator, because that's become a little bit scarce and more expensive. And I don't think Tonkanator fits the bill because it's an Autobot and it's yellow, not the same thing. But a cartoon Devastator, like you say, maybe not everyone bought the Encore and would quite fit a lot of quick collections.
Yeah.
Assuming they can get the mold for it, they could use the Encore remolded face.
Mm-hmm.
What about characters like, because there are other characters in the movie like Cup and Prowl. Even when you see characters like Prowl briefly, like a cartoon Prowl, you could have
Ironhide.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say Ironhide and Ratchet. Yeah. That'd be really something to see. What would they do with the heads? Would they change the heads?
Maybe tampo a cartoon head onto the seat instead of the weird one that it has, but like a cartoon head.
I have that.
Would be wonderful.
They are not great, but there are so many little characters, in the background and stuff like Huffer and Brawn. Like, imagine if they just retooled his face a little bit.
Retool on a mini bot. I mean, we had it, didn't we? We've had in Walmart. We had the retooled Bumblebee with the cartoon face. So, but that existed.
That could probably pop up in here.
I was just going to say, what about that, man? Bring that back, Get that on the go again. That would be quite interesting to see.
Especially they just have darker colours, maybe.
And even then, this, you mentioned Cup, but Cup and Blur for me are right up there. I would love to see those two again.
Cyclonus and Scourge for me.
Did Cup get a reissue?
Only in TF Collection, but hey, we got Hound.
So he's still there. That's what I mean. So he's
it's possible.
Still on the edge of reality there. So there's quite a few characters like that, but man, there are so many characters in that movie that you would just love to see get towards Springer. Because I can't find one in decent nick for a reasonable price at all.
Yeah.
So just be able to see that, particularly with a green chest. How weird would that be?
Yes, that is one that would look super different. It would be very hard to imagine how they would interpret that toy to look like the movie. Imagine it with no stickers, which by itself is already quite weird, right? But as you say, with a
painted
green
face
chest instead of the painted face, green chest is so weird. Darker green as well overall. And how would you do the yellow shoulder things?
That'd look really weird in helicopter mode.
Yeah,
maybe they just paint the front of it yellow, and then the top of it would still be grey. What about Blitzwing? We've had reissues of Blitzwing. And it was in platinum. What would they do? Just a bit more cartoon. The face could be painted like the cartoon, proper red eye band, yellow helmet, grey face.
I miss the Palmer Violet.
Yeah. I could actually see that one happening. Much as we're talking about Astro Train, I could see Blitzwing being a thing. It feels like one of those molds that's definitely going to get another run around at some point.
What about Jazz? Because we've not seen that for a while in a reissue, have we? I don't think.
Encore was the last time we had Jazz.
That's what I mean, the face.
Depends what face you get.
Well, if it was the Encore one, it would have the normal face because that was fixed for Encore.
Yeah, the Encore was fine, wasn't it? I think that'd be great to see. I think with different car mode, again, no chrome, which I'm sure would cause a bit of upset, but it's a great toy. It'd be great to see.
I think that's what makes me so excited about the Hound reissue. It's not the actual reissue itself; it's what it opens the door to. It's these characters that we've seen but haven't seen in a while, like Jazz characters. It's just been quite a while that they don't get the regular reissues, and it'd just be nice for people to have access to those again.
Here's one. What about Grapple?
Yes.
Grapple's in the
that'd
movie.
be fun.
Orange head.
Yeah.
His box art is just like a distant shot of him firing.
I just like the idea of an Inferno that's just an empty box, though.
And Gears.
All the credits.
Oh no, Gears
but-
is in the film, isn't he?
Yeah, Gears is briefly in the film. Yeah. I would love to see. Here's one for you. You're gonna both froth at the mouth at this one. Shockwave.
Yeah,
I'd
that'd be
love that.
amazing. Really would.
Yeah.
I expected more enthusiasm on that one.
I just don't think it's going to happen. Like my
No, of
fantasy
course it's
choice
not.
is Swoop. I want Swoop in cartoon colours,
Yeah.
but that's never going to happen. So that was going to be my
Yeah.
fantasy choice.
He'd be right up there, wouldn't he? If they suddenly said everything's on the table,
Yeah.
he'd be not far down past Pink Hot Rod and Train. People go cartoon Swoop.
That's
because
it,
again, it's so identified with those
Yeah.
colours, but it's toy.
Or
isn't it?
Slag.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. What about Nor?
Yeah, Nor would be fun. I don't have a vintage Nor yet.
I've never had one or even held one, so
I think that'd be a lovely one to have. I've got to mention one more that I don't think you guys will agree with, but I'd really like to see the cone heads because I really
Ooh.
want a thrust with the right coloured face and these yellow eyes painted and the lighter grey on the maroon body. I think a thrust, and he was like bang in Optimus's grill right there. You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to see thrust actually.
yeah, particularly if they retool the face.
Yeah, and of course there was no commemorative thrust.
Was there not? Was there just the other two?
Platinum, wasn't there? That was it.
There was Platinum, yeah.
Thrust. Yeah, that's true. So even more likely that we get him. Yeah.
It's very feasible. I'd be well into that, honestly.
Thrust would be great.
It'd be really good to see. Honestly, they're not like my top choice at all, but it would be great still. Why not? But I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? That's kind of the list of... I'm honestly sort of racking my brains through the list of like potential characters or whatever. There's not many more that spring to mind that we've not at least mentioned by name.
Maybe they could do a HasLab Unicron
Well,
from
yes.
there.
Yeah. I mean, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? Would be absolutely amazing. What would you say if it was just like next release up?
Sign
Unicron?
me up.
Yeah,
Proceed on my way to
100%.
Wallet Oblivion. That'd be my...
Yeah. Spare no expense as far as I'm concerned. It's just, whatever it takes.
All right. And I guess if we're going to enter complete Fantasyland, an RC would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what would you want it to be? Would you want it to be a sort of an approximation of the prototype, which, to use Raz's language from the last episode, to be which we presume was a looks like, or would you want it to be a sort of wholly new thing in G1 style?
I think I'd just take Pink Chrome Dome.
Right, exactly.
Make it more realistic. Make
Well,
it
if
happen.
If they did print Chrono, then it would have been a reissue of Chrome Dome might be on the table at some point.
Yay!
No bad
Everyone's
thing.
a winner.
No bad thing.
All right, well, that just about covers it for the retro reissue line. Transformers the movie releases we'd love to see in this line as well, with a little bit of fantasy thrown in there. Now's a good time to remind you of our Patreon. Wow, I think that's the most salesy I've ever made it sound.
It was pretty salesy.
The least natural. But yeah, if you want more of this, if you want to hear more mini-sode topics where we delve into these kind of discussions a little bit more, maybe hyper-focus on one thing like Pink Hot Rod, and we have done a Pink Hot Rod mini-sode, and if you want to hear that, you're going to have to sign up to our Patreon. So that's patreon.com/triple takeover. Loads more perks as well. Discord, early access, voting on episode polls, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, some of the perks we offer with our Patreon are the opportunity to ask a question. So our Patreon question this week comes from Charlie Chappelle, and he asks, since all of you specialize in toy photography, what is your opinion on Transformers stop-motion films? Additionally, have any of you dabbled in it or actually done it?
I've never dabbled in it or done it, but I really enjoy the stuff. Oh my gosh, what's he called? Is it Richard Sargent?
Yeah, Optimus Time Lord.
Optimus Time Lord.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
His man.
incredible.
I love every time I see it pop up on Twitter with something of his. It's like, oh my god, it's a new thing. Like the stuff he does with, even with the box art.
Yeah,
comes to life. He's like,
Ugh.
it's sorcery. How? There's no
Yeah.
science behind it. It's just magic, black magic.
So yeah, when done well,
100%
100% into it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also another guy actually who's worth a
Loreno?
shout out.
Oh, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to mention Lumaken, who you may have seen. He does.
Oh yeah.
I don't know actually if you guys will be as into it because it's like a lot of Beast Wars stuff and things like this. But he's done some incredible things with like the fossilizers and things like that, kind of bringing them all coming to life and combining and like
Did he insert the pan
transmutate. And
pipes?
I think there is some pan pipes in there actually. But
Have you
he
included
put
them in your
some-
tweet lists? Because I think I might have seen them there.
I
Yep,
have.
then I
Yeah,
have seen
I've
them.
many,
Those are
many,
great.
many times. Yeah, really good, and just super creative because he's kind of creating his own kind of combinations of those toys as well as animating them, putting sounds in there from the show. It's incredible work, honestly. But I have no clue about this stuff myself.
No, I've never done it either. The most I've done is take a bunch of photos of Masterpiece Smokescreen transforming, give it over to Kit and say, Kit, can you make this into a GIF? That was about the limit. Okay, so thank you for your question, Charlie. And another Patreon perk is the shout out that you get if you are a Sixo's Butler or a Gold Box Classic. So a massive thank you to Nick, Danny, Robert, Andy, Preston, Chris, Spiderfather, Adam Shoemaker, Matt, Stephen Perkins, Bad Saturday, Justin Massaro, Dave Darrenpool, Gio Kaiser, Yusuf, John Pearl, Choice of Anthony, Carls, Alec Mir, Captain R.A., Phil G, Jack Pelletier, Red Storm, Stuart Weber, Mar, Lazy, Big Puma, The Hunter, Vegemite Mike, Peter Hampson, Shenry, Chris Norris, Jesse Moreno, Nexus, Jim Owen, Aaron Swoboda, Billy Gator, Andy Gold, Cold Score, Simon Elvin, Joshua Misha Kid, Cracktastic Plastic, Devastator, Jeffrey Frigg, Nice Sideburns, Andy Inbound Lee, John Wood, Carlo Wilmer, Tim Boundy, Ben Lewis, Shinsei, Lucas Henkel, Mollis Koenig, Malcolm Hobbs, CNC, Rick 56, Mythic Gears, Zach Lawson, Jason Murray, David Shepard, Esteem, Quick Mix, Josh Bell, Ash Polt, Zindios, Christian Hyatt, Mark Alley, Andrew Bentley, Graham Moffat, Connor C, Burke Perrotta, Eric Hoyt, Bobby P, Mike Loicono, Neil Bat, Tyler Husky, Chris Rodwell, Steve Redman, Fart Warp, Shawnee Sean, Jim Kinsey, Shaunty Siegel, James Pascoe, Ghost Prime, Yickle, MK Tronic, Juadet Walter, Charlie Chappelle, Maddie Clark, Jonathan Fossil, Howard, Alexis Taylor, Windows 6K, Teku James, Tyler Dickerson, Jeremy Woodall, Ross, Jetfire James, Dog Lunch UK, Saucy Fellow, Absurd, Keith, Freedom is the Right, Menace Streaker, Michael Cagle, Duggatron, Hugh McKinney, Thomas Anderson, Squid Catfish, Rob Packerbush, Stevie P, Roy Han, Ali Nunes, Cannon, Robert R, Duckstar, Heinrad80, Fuzigi, Toy Pocket, and a big thank you to our new patrons, Calidus, Michael Brandt, Loxer, who's a returning patron, Unchrasmatic Ball, another returner, and John R, and the Makes Brothers, who you might recognise. What a list.
Wow, what a list.
What a list indeed. Well, we also have a sponsor for the evening. That is tfsource.com. Do check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And Diaclone.
And obviously, we also still have our Redbubble store that we talked about at the start of the episode and every episode, and it has all sorts of stuff. But I'm not going to tell you what because I could be wrong.
Do you mean that it survived the episode, basically?
Yeah.
The Redbubble store.
Yes, it still exists. So go get your t-shirts and shower curtains because I definitely know we have those at rebel.com/people/triple takeover/explore. And one of the things we found at obviously the Mini TF Nation was lots of people like to talk to us, and talk. And one of the places you can do that, if you have a question or you want to talk about this reissue line, just head over to our social media, which is triple_takeover on Instagram and Twitter, and at triple takeover, all one word, on Facebook. Maz, where can they find you?
At TFsquareone on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Sixo.
I'm at Sixo on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon.
And I'm at Toybox Soapbox. Anyway, there's an at.
So that's all for episode 53. Thanks again so much for joining us, and thanks again for everyone who came up to the other two at TF and Minicon in Manchester. Sorry, I wasn't able to attend. Here's to the continued success and long life of the retro Transformers the movie, Transformers reissue, G1, Transformers vintage retro movie line.
Till all are reissued. He's getting a new head, everybody! Woo!
M.A.S.K confirms. New head. Bow, 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 bow.